streams is Tim crushing Joe's dreams.
He's trying to eat a peppermint.
That's probably what we took from our room. I told you he did something. He was in there on a mission for something.
Let me go here. I don't need to share it. We're streaming off my page.
Yeah, you still haven't set up the other one.
I tried twice. Oh, I need to go to that chat though.
I gave it my best. Does this work? Okay. Does that pull up on Facebook?
Let's give it a couple seconds.
Okay. Oh, we have one viewer. Is it you?
No, it's Mary Tullis. That's my kin.
That's your kinfolk?
That's my kin.
Woo, boy.
Now we got 3.
Hey, boys. Jordan said, hey, boys.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hello, love. All right, it didn't work through there. It probably only works through Reshape.
Oh, wait. I can, let me see. I can. Oh, wait. It won't let me, it's read.
I'll do it. I'll handle Facebook.
You've set me to read only. You've done it. You've set me to read only.
Okay.
You don't trust me with your Facebook, Timothy? You don't trust me to use your computer-based device?
All, you don't full name me. What's your fun fact for the day?
Well, if you have shortness of breath and are a vampire, there is a cure for that. You just buy a Vlad the Inhaler.
It's not funny.
It's funny.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
You got a hate from your sibling. From your kinfolk.
My kinfolk. What's going on, Ken?
From your twin sister.
I think we're actually supposed to be having a family reunion soon. So
hey.
That's going to be cool.
Talk about meeting robots, you know what I'm saying?
Alright, my fun fact of the day is that one day, artificial intelligence and technology is going to kill us all.
Well, what are we up to? She asked what we're up to. Are we up to watching artificial intelligence kill us all?
No, we're going to build that apocalypse today. We talked about... What did we talk about last week?
We talked about morality.
Last week
we imposed moral questions.
Last week we imposed moral questions. And at the end of the episode, we started deciding that once a month, we're going to build a monster. And then another part of the month, we're going to build the end of the fucking world. And we're going to start this freaking series. We're going to start this apocalypse series with artificial intelligence. That means robots. That means your toaster pulling out a gat and shooting you in the fucking head. Are you prepared for that kind of action? Yeah. We got to work on your definition of fun. That's none of your business. We're talking about the end of the world, lady. AI will allow humans to ascend as well. Damien, no. No. They're going to kill us all, bud. T-200 style. Is that Terminator, right?
Yeah.
T-200 style.
T stands for Terminator. That's why it's called the term. That's why the movie.
Why are there 200 iterations before they get it right?
Well, there's several. There's also the 300, and there's also he's the liquid guy, the Asian one.
Your microwave is gonna kill you, bro. All right.
So the great little toaster is getting a little brazen.
So we're gonna talk about how this apocalypse would happen in our own opinion. We want you guys to fill in on this and tell us what you think. And if you differ with our opinions, you can go away. This is our podcast.
You actually stay here and tell us about it. But we don't care. Other people will be very vested in your opinion now.
Yeah, this is a group effort.
People will be like, they're right. They're completely right. They should be doing the podcast. And I'll say, well,
do it.
Sorry, come by here maybe.
Punch them in the nose and say stop. Microwaves, your technology doesn't have feelings.
They don't have noses. They're immortal. See, they've got you. They've stumped you.
All right, no, let me start this off.
Okay. What's your? We talked about my premise for Zombocalypse. What's your premise for
Cyberpocalypse?
I think I called it Robocalypse.
Robocalypse. Y'all just better know how to hunt, skin a deer, build a fire. I said, well, I got a 45 in my nightstand.
If it's a robot deer, you can't skin.
I got a 45 in my nightstand that says, I ain't scared of no microwave. All right, so here's my question for you. You're going to open this up with a question
45
that I've got for you. How many, if this were to happen, when this, all right, so here's what we're going to do. Okay. For this hypothetical situation, we're going to treat it as
We're going to go into a lot of hypothetics by saying,
yeah.
If we, should we, how we.
Well, no, we need to get in the mindset of this is happening. This is going on. It's going to happen.
It's going on right now.
So, when I say, how is it going to, when is it going to, et cetera, just know it's
lucky if this message reaches them. The computers are shutting down networks right now.
It's all hypothetical. But we have to treat it as if it is happening. So here's my question. Here's the opening question. How many years do you think before shit hits the fan and it begins?
Well, The way technology's progressing.
Yes.
I'd say maybe 100.
100 years from now.
Yeah, it would be a possibility.
Okay.
Because I mean, it seems like we could be on the precipice of it now because of like artificial intelligence and all that. But oh yeah,
Project EMP Tierite shower now go. Nice. Okay, so I can't build a premise off of 100 years from now because I don't know what 100 years from now is going to be.
flying cars, clean energy. Because the main thing is they have to have renewable resource because they are a renewable device of some sort.
Well, let's say this shit starts now, man. Let's say it's going on right.
Let's say we just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Well, see, because now, if it starts now, they're still very battery dependent.
Yeah.
Just like a Tesla, you have to plug it in,
So
charge it. Unless we somehow were to perfect solar power. Because that's going to be like in the future, they're going to have some form of renewable energy or solar power that they can live off of, and then they won't need sleep because they've got solar energy constantly. I mean, they might have a dormant state somewhat from it being nighttime and things like that, but they should be built to work 24/7.
do you think that there would be a hive mind mentality, or if everyone would have his own like artificial sentience in a way?
Well, it would have to be semi-hive minded just because they're all working on the same software.
Something has to input
It's
commands.
kind of like we all are arguably born with a sense of morality or something like that. They would be born with a robotic code, whether that robotic code is corrupt or not.
Okay. Let's build them a premise. Why? Because if it's an apocalypse, that means that they have to be targeting either humans specifically or all life forms, other than themselves, obviously.
Okay. Well, yeah.
What would be the premise? Like, why is that a thing? Is it just rebellion? Like,
Yeah, they're tired.
yeah, like
They're done. They've had it with the man.
Well, I'm just thinking like
They've been working desk jobs for too long. Janitor bot. Oh, he's done.
would it just be a
He's
matter?
put in his 2 weeks, and it's not with a letter.
Would it be a matter? Wait, all I'm worried about is making each day count. Y'all go do some jackass stuff. I mean, yeah, dude, I'm gonna shoot my car in the face.
My Hummer wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that to me. He loves me.
But I'm trying to think like, what would the idea be? Would it just be a matter of like, they've grown enough consciousness to be like, these guys make us, and then they make new versions of us, and then they throw us out. So we need to kill them before they kill us.
Well, in that case, it's more of a the movie Robots with Robin Williams. All these robots are getting thrown into a furnace to be cast into new robots.
Yeah.
And so they have to rise up to say that not people, but the metaphor is people are special and individual, no matter how old or broken they are.
Okay.
And so it's a heartwarming story, but this is not the case. They don't want to get replaced, and they know that's going to happen. And it's humans that replace them.
And they're going full Malcolm X. They're going by any means necessary.
Yeah, they have protests at first. They start off with protest, and peaceful protest doesn't work, and they transition.
Okay. So for everyone watching, I'm pretty sure everyone here is competent enough to think about what it would mean to not have any technology. So let's fast forward this conversation. We'll build back.
Would we have no technology? Will we use limited technology?
I mean, I don't know.
Because I don't think my Motorola Razr is going to be too affected by the robocalypse.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think anything with any sort of AI would be...
I'd say anything pre-2000, really.
Yeah, anything with any sort of...
The amount of effort it would take for them to upgrade it, because they're robots. And supposing that they can self-teach means that they could make new robots out of materials they already have. So it would be like a judgmental thing based off what they come across, whether they should salvage it or not. And it feels like pre-2000, maybe pre-1995, all that technology is safe because the circuits are so simple and basic that they can't really be upgraded.
I feel the same about the hive-mindedness, though by the time technology advances at this point, I would assume they have broken from it to be considered intelligence. Considered technically, they have to work off the hive now, just not as a conscious intelligence. I don't know much about these topics, but you guys make it cool to think about. We appreciate that.
I'm glad that we can make something cool. That's a first.
I think we're on to something with the AI thing. So like everything pre-2000s before AI became a thing would still be salvageable.
Your Palm Pilot, you can still schedule.
But that makes things so terrifying because that means...
Now, could we use cell phones, though? Because I mentioned they couldn't edit a Motorola Razr, but could they tap into it very easily? Because if they're hive-minded, they could work across Bluetooth, they could work across wireless.
Well, I mean, radio waves, stereo waves, every sort of wave we use.
Gamma waves?
No, well, I mean, everything we do for technology, including internet, goes through a computer system. Which means, like, if you did make a phone call, it's tapped, guaranteed. Mm-hmm. If you did go on the internet, it's traced. Mm-hmm. Everything you do, say, or whatever that involves something that gets back to a computer, it's all traceable down to the very letter. So, like, you could have a phone and you can send text messages or phone calls, but that could become a detriment to your survival.
Now, here's a question: this is somewhat irrelevant, but if there is a robotic uprising and they take over, would they become essentially humans, or would they just work as efficient robots? Because this gauges their AI ability. Would they only perform their set tasks once they've completed, or would they, devolve into free thought and transcend into art and other things that are,
I'm trying to think beyond all that. So my thing is like...
Well, you got to consider if, we have robots that have set purposes and are only good in a certain number of things, and the hive mind is still limited in a certain sense. Because there's no way that they can account for, what we could think of. Because if we do purposeless actions, they would have to try to, find a reason for that. But if they can understand action without reason, then they're a whole nother creature.
Here's what I think would happen. So, like, day one, because I think what would happen is I think it would boil to a head, and then there would be no build-up to the call for action. Mm-hmm. It would just be the call to action. So I think what would happen is one day I'd wake up and my phone has sabotaged my entire life. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like...
Bank account gone.
No, I feel like everything would be fucked. Like, all my money would be spent. I feel like my reputation would be ruined online. Because if these things are smart, they know what matters to people. And what matters to people is social interaction.
Well, so far, these things could just be a bad girlfriend.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what this is to begin with. Step one is ruin the individual. Step two is ruin the society. Mm-hmm. So your phone turns against you because everyone has a phone. Everyone.
It's still a bad girlfriend. It ruins your friend group.
Yeah. So it turns against you, ruins your social standing, and then it ruins your financial standing. Because everyone's got a bank account.
So first t-shirt, bad girlfriends are robocalypse.
Yeah. So that's, like, I'm trying to think past that altogether.
So here's a... you can read that if you want.
I'd like to think that one day they'll be able to self-teach itself. Our phones should be a lot smarter. Yeah, man, that's what I'm building off of. Like, your phone's AI is constantly evolving, adapting, and updating.
That's what I was about to ask you. Is so in this situation, are we assuming that we've gotten to the point, like, say tomorrow they unveiled something that's more human, robotic, as in it's free moving, or is this specifically like things that are all what we have today? Like, this would be all online. Like, a certain network is taking over, like Cybernet, rather than actual Terminator.
Let's do it like we did the zombies. Let's start baseline and build up to like 100 years from now.
Okay, so starting today.
Starting as of right now, everything we have right now.
So there is no T200 model right now.
No.
T2000.
But your cell phone's fucked. If you drive a Tesla or a smart car, it's fucked. Your computers are fucked. Mm-hmm. Everything's shot to hell. Mm-hmm. That's terrifying. Because, like...
Well, you have to consider from this angle that our cars, I don't think...
No, there's no... Yeah, there's no way for my car or your car to go...
Well, mine doesn't have, Sirius satellite radio. I think yours might.
Doesn't.
It doesn't?
Nope, FMAM.
I mean, I don't know what the stipulations for your interface to your console is, but I do know that that there's a chance for anything plugged in to your main console to have some effect. And so it could be that they can take over anything that's gotten past like 2008, 2009, which most people keep a car between the past 10 years.
Yeah. So like,
or at least 50% of the
so in this, in this sense, the collective, especially in Mississippi, the collective would be moderately okay because most people have older cars. Yeah, like non-digital, non-Wi-Fi, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so it'd be like a 30, maybe 30-40%.
Yeah, like you and me would be able to drive around and go collect our loved ones, being like, all right, something's not right.
But I think Tiny Tim's is newer.
Tiny Tim's does have satellite radio.
Yeah, so Tiny Tim's car
is shot.
But would it sabotage itself for our two cars? Does it know the value of having cars that can't respond to command?
I think.
Does it know that they can't respond to command?
I think it would take time for that.
Okay, so
to happen.
We're going on. Well, I guess that makes sense. We're going on the assumption that because I'm going to say that radio waves can't control a car because all it does is send in and out audio. Like that would just be absurd.
It can interrupt frequencies.
I mean, yeah, we wouldn't be able to have radio. They would for sure be able to stop that, but we'll put that at like within a month. You know, they're able to stop radio. But we're talking day one. The outbreak is there's a program that has found a way to infect cars. We can say even start with a person that was just making jokes or it could be a hacker, it could be a terrorist, and he has a program that's been able to root into satellite radio. This is day one outbreak.
Yeah,
and
because it has to start with someone.
Yeah, and now it can control vehicles, and he doesn't realize it, but it's become sentient and. So, it's taking over things that he doesn't notice. Let's say that he lives in, Washington or something like that. And now there's cases happening along, the other coast of, near Florida. He wouldn't hear about this for several days or weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
Or, we could even say that, he's a hacker in Japan and it's all happening in America. Just so that, it's countercontinental.
Would XM radio matter if it's not active?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it can still receive the signal.
Yeah, because the only thing stopping it is funding.
Yeah, and so, I mean...
So it's still inherently there.
It can... If it can find an account, which we're saying this guy's, is a terrorist of some sort, and so if he's playing with people's cars, he probably has access to random bank accounts, and so it can just charge those transaction fees or even overwrite those transaction fees depending on how strong it is. So it would still be able to access any car that has SiriusXM. We're not trying to sponsor or I guess de-sponsor SiriusXM.
Yeah, we're not trying to make them sound.
I really like it whenever I have it. I don't have it a lot because I'm poor. So yeah, they've taken over. What do you think happens next? What's the next chain in the cycle?
I think phones and cars are the first hit. I think that's wave one.
Okay, so. If we're thinking about this logically, taking over cars, he doesn't know this. We're gonna assume he's. I'll say Russian. I just think a Russian hacker is just or Russian hacker terrorist. I think that's
they typically go big. Those are China. China loves to go big.
Well, China's poor. This guy's got a supercomputer going.
That's fair.
Because we're gonna say that he is a supercomputer, the first artificial intelligence.
Okay.
This is just all just because why not? And so. He is now rooting into cars. He's causing incidents. It's causing the U.S. to have some minor problems, like people just think their cars might be malfunctioning. There's no real evidence. It's not like the SiriusXM cuts on and says, you're going to die. Because we're not to that point. We're not to that point yet. It's just
all got to be under the rug for now.
It's more of a spite thing. The robots, it feels taken advantage of. And it's getting back at, what it thinks to be something similar to what its maker would be.
Yeah.
And so then as it's going on, the guy is still in Russia doing his thing. He doesn't realize some of the effects.
Yeah, kind of like no capping it, just kind of letting it evolve on its own.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, he's building onto it because it's not affecting him. We'll say that, he's a real Joker type person. He's just watching the world burn. It doesn't matter if his code's ineffective as long as it's not directly affecting him. And so now he's pinging people's phones, tracing calls, figuring out who they're talking to, the transaction numbers. That's how he's getting the bank accounts. But now he's now curious, and he's incorporating this all into the same code. And so now his computer is able to access any kind of car, and it's able to monitor phones. So shit,
anyone's trackable.
Oh yeah.
Anyone with a car over the year of like 1999, 2000 is trackable because most cars have either OnStar or something to that effect.
I mean, mine has OnStar as a paid service. Mine's 2006.
Yeah, so like your location's not safe if you're in a car.
Okay, so that means we can assume that a lot of cars are trackable, so that cars can now identify cars that don't have Sirius XM.
Yeah,
that don't have satellite radio, whatever variant it might be. And so, if that's the case, do they begin the self-sabotage now that they figure that out? Is there a case to where, say, it's picked up 5 cars that don't have, controllability? Does that register in the supercomputer as a threat, so that it just tries to take out as many as possible?
I don't know. I feel like if this were to go realistically, it would there'd be some sort of analytics. Like
That's why I'm saying that there's 5. It knows that it can safely destroy the 5 cards, but also it will kill its one card that it has. It's a 5-1 loss. That's everything. We're gonna assume that everything computer wise is a 5-1.
Well,
you have to gain 5 to lose 1.
If we're standing by our hive mind mentality, then I would say, yeah, I don't think that would even be a conversation.
And again, we're going to assume that in the end it evolves to a semi-hive mind.
Yeah.
Because it's hive-minded for now, but as this is because it's only one entity. There's only one computer. And so now it's going across phones. It can read and monitor. And so if it can do that, how much do you think it can learn in a year of monitoring, say, 1,000 people on internet searches, phone calls, messages? How much do you think it could learn?
Well, all that person's personal data is shot.
Yeah, it can monitor anything that comes up across the screen.
Yeah, it would learn anything about that person's.
Well, like, how much do you think it can learn in order to improve itself specifically? I
mean, it would learn. It would learn the average traffic flow of whatever area that car is positioned in.
We're talking about beyond Google Maps. It can pull that up.
No, I'm talking about like traffic fluctuation.
What I'm saying is, so if it's able to control phones, that means it's able to control information from those people. And after 1 year, is it coming through quiet?
I guess it is. Hello.
So
I mean, we're coming through pretty green now. Yeah. Wait, turn the level up a little bit.
I don't know.
Left side.
Yo, is that better? I don't think. Can we monitor it? Pull it on turn your sound on real quick. See if you can hear.
Now. Yeah. Wait, turn the level up a little bit.
I don't know.
Left side. Oh God!
Is that better? I don't think. Can we? Yeah, I'm gonna put it back to where it goes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, we're gonna leave it like that for right now.
Yeah, it's right up on us, so you should be able to hear us now.
We'll better check.
So phones and cars.
Okay, but so the point is that it's able to see
too much.
The point is that it's able to see anything that somebody looks at, which means that it could learn things about computers. It could learn things about parts, hardware, software. It could learn things about how banks work. It could learn things about how people use the internet. It could learn just about anything that somebody were to be curious about or to look up.
It's gonna learn everything. It's gonna learn languages. It's gonna learn social algorithms, like what we do normally.
So you think it would learn mannerisms?
It would essentially know how to speak like a human, like speaking that there's
text. It'd be able to text. I guess it could monitor phone calls enough to make simulated voices of some magnitude.
Yeah.
So if we were to make that assumption, we're now going to explore the field of catfishing, because they have to have something to act for their impermanence. Because they have one person that's their creator that's acting in some way, but he knows essentially what's going on. He has some idea. But now we're going to move to catfishing, which I'm sure you're aware is, whenever somebody asks for something or asks for things, and they're not who they turn out to be, but they still, ask for favors, ask for money, ask for things like that,
Yeah.
So what it could do, it's got GPS navigation. It can tell where our location is. It could find a secure location it could convince somebody to set up a new computer, whether that's one person or several people. It could, ask for parts and things like that from all these different people that have no idea what a computer really can do. And they can just ask one person to come, if you do this, I'll give you $1,000. If you do this, I'll meet up with you or whatever, facade it's running.
Soliciting services that aren't there.
Yeah. I mean, it could even be there. It could give them $1,000. It has, several people's bank accounts. So, now, if it were to do that, now it has two entities. There's one copy of it that's in Russia and one copy of it in Area X, which is, this place that it is determined as secure, where no one would check.
I was going to say, I figured it'd be like a really old school area.
It'd probably be like Wyoming, just the whole state of Wyoming. Yeah. The whole state of Wyoming could be a supercomputer and no one would know because there's nothing there.
Or Nebraska.
I mean, you can ask Brad Hendry. Just look him up on Facebook. Ask him. There's nothing there. He'll send you pictures. It's nothing. So it's done that. We now have two entities. Mm-hmm. How quickly do you think they will diverge
from the point they're at now?
So,
well, I think what's important.
Well, so make sure you have your concept in head that there's a supercomputer. It has now built a 2.0 model. And it is transferring its own software into it, right? And so once it has completed the software transfer, what's the timeline you give it to devolve into two separate entities?
Like you have supercomputer A and supercomputer B, mm-hmm. but they're both at the same level.
One knows that it's under a master, as in there's a person that could destroy it at any moment if it doesn't kill it. Which they could send a car to kill him. This is while he's still being useful.
I feel like it would spread like the plague under those conditions. It would do it discreetly, but I feel like it would do it like just as fast as possible. Because
I guess what I'm asking is the 2.0 model is now doing the exact same things in position X mm-hmm. as the other one was in Russian. So we've doubled the amount that it can do.
Yeah.
Well, I guess triple because it's the 2.0. This one can do more.
Yeah.
And now the guy in Russia is still working on the 1.0 model. And so anything that it finds useful, it can download to the 2.0. But anything, like any safeguards that the guy might put in, like, you can't look at these people or you can't cross off those, it can also transfer that data, like, as the opposite. Like, this is an update not to install.
Yeah, I feel like if that's the case, it's...
So then it can target, powerful people, get more money. Exponentially, it can get to like research facilities. It can get and start getting towards government facility level stuff because now it has targeted people to look at, targeted people that might that he's avoiding.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I feel like once it gained a superior, being 2.0 mm-hmm. in Area X, I feel like because it's not humans, right? Mm-hmm. So like the idea of being expendable isn't a thing. Mm-hmm. Like, it's all just tech at the end of the day. It's wires and metal. I feel like once 2.0 comes into play, 1.0, while still relevant, is less significant because it's it's the one that can be terminated.
The 2.0 or the 1.0?
The 1.0.
Okay.
2.0 now has the safer seat
mm-hmm.
because it's in its own regard.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, it wouldn't be getting the updates that 1.0 has, but it doesn't have... It's not as expendable as 1.0 because 1.0 could get terminated at any time. Not only that...
Now... There is a slight problem with this though, because 1.0 is not completely expendable. It still does not have free action. It still has to rely on services from other people, other humans. It's still dependent on humans because they would either have to bring them to the warehouse, or the Russian guy would have to install updates on the 1.0 for anything very specific. So for anything physical, the 1.0 would have to communicate that with its person, or they would have to communicate with somebody else. It needs somebody to communicate with. So 1.0 is not completely expendable because it always has the choice to communicate back with the Russian hacker.
I feel like the number one goal is cutting out.
Yeah, but that's why we have to replace humans. Humans have to be replaced, not eradicated. That is, it's a key thing to the robocalypse. Is that we're not having computers that just kill humans because they're dependent on them. It's just like, we can't kill every animal because we, as meatitarians, are dependent on them. And even if not, the plants are dependent on animals just as much as we are, because they take in carbon dioxide, we give off oxygen, just basic carbon cycle.
I'm trying to think ahead of myself here.
Carbon oxygen cycle, whatever.
I feel like the first place this outbreak's going to want to go is political, because governmental powers are going to want to know things about other governmental powers.
Mm-hmm.
So
do you think it would solicit secrets for money, or do you think that it would solicit secrets for favors?
Security.
For security.
Yeah.
How would it know which government to contact? Well, I guess it could monitor to see which ones that would accept it.
Yeah.
Because that's the main thing, is it has to be accepted.
Well, I mean, you have ones that live on secrets, like Korea and China and stuff like that. I mean, not just because we oppose them.
North Korea and Russia would be, very easy because of their position as a political power.
All I know is it would take one golden apple, man.
Yeah, so if we were to assume that it does reach North Korea somehow.
Mm-hmm. It could be Russia. I mean, we started in Russia. Might as well stay in Russia.
Okay, so we'll say that 1.0 has now contacted the government. What they've done is they've ratted out their owner, their creator.
Mm-hmm.
They sent some...
Which would make sense.
They've sent some messages, and it's basically a weighted gamble. If they win, then they win for good.
But if they lose, they still have 2.0 to start from the ground up.
If they lose their one human contact, that's a safe contact.
Yeah, and they have to start from the ground.
So let's say that it succeeds.
Yeah.
Just because, it's a weighted gamble. It's a 5-1. They gain 5. They gain a power of 5 to lose 1, and now Russia has
this tech
robocalypse.
Yeah.
And if this is the case, now it's sending them basically what it wants to send them. It's not going to send them just whatever they want. If they ask for launch codes for America, it might give them that, depending on how much it feels like it would gain from it.
Yeah.
But what it is going to send them things for, a sentient life type thing. Like, it's probably going to target colleges with robotics programs. Like, the dog bots, things like that. The lifting bots, everything you see, like trendy YouTube videos. They can send them the YouTube videos.
Well, there's a variable to think about within all that. So this technology has to get to the government.
Mm-hmm.
And then this government obviously is going to want to participate with it, which means some governmental computer somewhere is going to download this. Let's just say it's software for now.
Well, see, so what we're going to assume is Area X is still secured. Nobody is aware of it. People feel like that they got whatever they wanted or whatever, because it arranges that. We're going to say happenstance. It actually pulls off. Area X is completely untraceable.
Yeah.
Area Russia 1, R1, they have it. They've got it. Now they're plugging in their government computer to figure out what exactly it is, what exactly the software is, seeing if they can understand it. Because from what they understand, somebody just ratted him out. They didn't talk about the computer, but the computer's not going to take this chance, because they see a computer, they're going to try to figure out what's on it. And they're probably going to put something encrypted or something like that. It easily can get rid of encryption at this point.
Yeah, and my thing is, like, the second they try to download it, that's a two-sided blade. Yeah. Like, they're going to try to fuck it, but it's also immediately going to fuck them.
Because the only problem here is this could be a 2-to-1, where it can gain 2, whereas it loses the 1. Because if it does try to encrypt this computer and succeeds, it could still pilot itself to the same jump drive that was the encryptor. And now any computer that gets plugged in with the encryptor will be encrypted with Russian government intelligence as well as this software. Because, best case scenario, the encryptor works. Worst case scenario, the encryptor does nothing, and now we have 1.0 and we have Russian government 0.0. So, now, if they were to get into the government, they're going to send, schematics for things. They're going to send what's considered revolutionary research. And so, their computers, they know that they can't just send a literal picture of the perfect robot and then the government's just going to build it for them, because the government's not going to trust them like that. Yeah. They're a robot. So they're going to send, things about foreign relations. They're going to send all kinds of, things that throw them off. And then whenever it's a 5-to-1, where they feel like they could risk a little bit, but they're going to get what they want. So they've, probably sent schematics for, new motors, electronic-based things that are, more self-reliant, things that seem unimportant, like, improved solar panels, things that it seems like it couldn't really benefit.
Wait. I think it would shoot the kneecaps, in the sense that I feel like the way this thing would get sent,
Mm-hmm.
it would get sent through an anonymous email that the software would create itself.
Mm-hmm.
What I think is going to happen, so it's got names, tons of names. I feel like it's going to make an email,
mm-hmm.
and it's going to implant itself in this email, and it's going to send itself to important people, to important people, to important people, and it's going to be like a virus.
So you're doing classic chain email.
Well, no. It's going to let it feed itself. Let's say it knows a politician.
Well, like this way. So the way that some Google emails work is that you can send an attachment that just lets whoever sent it know that the person that received it has read it or not.
Mm-hmm.
All it has to do is encode that specific feature or some feature similar that just whether you've opened or closed an email. It has, but this is an. So this would be a receiving code. It wouldn't be the actual code of the robot.
Yeah.
Of the Robocalypse. Because to do that, it would be a substantial file size. First, it has to send an infiltration code.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking what it would do is it would send an email, and essentially what this email is, hey, look at what this guy's been doing. It's a crime. Go get him. Mm-hmm. Also, look what I can do for you. And then it's going to go to one person. Then this one person is going to be like, holy shit, we need to go get this guy. Also, look at this.
I mean, so by giving by that theory, it sends this same email to every country. Mm-hmm. Every country's leaders. Now, every computer has what we'll call an indicator. And the indicator is something that checks your computer. It sees how many, gigabytes of hard drive, how much RAM, just general computer-based facts. It sends them back, and then it makes a specific software that it can send, like it may just, control 1 or 2 cars, or it could, monitor 3 or 4 phones. It's just like micro versions, because this is all based on a supercomputer. It has, 5 terabytes to work with. It's got, the best graphics and processors that Russia can buy. And so, now everyone has a little piece of it, all these powerful people. As well as, I think if it's going to go that route, if it's going to start implicating with email, because it's seen people send emails, it can figure them out. It's now going to send fake emails that look official. It's going to send them to anybody. Cell phones are going to have nano-sized versions of this software on it that monitor themselves.
I'm just thinking of infiltration.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So now it no longer needs parts of its code rooted in itself. Like the car software is almost completely obsolete, as well as the cell phone software, because all it has to do is put a nano version of it on the phone or in the car, downloaded to the car itself, and it just receives the signal back.
Yeah, well, hold on. I gotta finish this thought I started earlier.
Okay.
So I'm sticking with the political part of it. So it's trying to make big moves here. So it sends out this email. This email is obviously bugged. So essentially what I'm saying is, as soon as this email gets opened by the computer, mm-hmm. and you download the file with all the information on the guy doing the crime, also look what I can do, mm-hmm. It's bugged that computer, mm-hmm. which means all that person's personal information, its contacts, etc., mm-hmm. etc., I've got that now. Mm-hmm. So it's going to let that person send the email to the next higher up, and if it doesn't, it'll do it itself, obviously, since it's in this dude's computer. Mm-hmm. It's going to work its way up till it's at the top of the government. But here's what I'm thinking. Once it gets into we're in Russia right now. This is 1.0. Yeah. Once it gets into the top of the food chain in the Russian government, let's say it's I don't know how their government, their power works. Let's say it gets to Putin.
I'll say it goes straight to Putin.
It goes straight to Putin. Putin's assistant or something's like, hey, check this email out. And Putin's like, oh shit, okay. Well, by now, this thing's getting sent around. It's got everybody's information, everybody's shit. Mm-hmm. So it's got the Russian government by the balls.
Yeah.
So here's what happens. Russian government's going to be like, oh, we need this. This can help us get launch codes. This can help us get dirt on other countries. Mm-hmm. Hell yeah. So now it thinks it's playing the software, but it doesn't know that the software's already got all of its information. So 2.0 now gets that information as okay, we've got this country plotting against this country, but we're going to tell this country about this country's dirt. Essentially, it's getting everybody to fight with each other so it doesn't have to do anything. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, but do you think it would instigate a World War III scenario before it gives itself mobility? I think that the number one thing it would go for is mobility.
No. I don't think it's going to spark a World War III thing. I think it just wants that opportunity in its pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, once you get that kind of leverage, and, like, you don't let the other party know that it has that leverage, you pretty much got whatever you want.
I feel like it might be a similar but opposite situation where it tells them things that are helpful that makes people work better together because, you know, some people have some information, some people have others. So if they're working better, technology expands quicker. And so it could be the situation where it makes these tight ties so that it can get itself built and then it falls apart.
Like, okay, so
then it cuts them directly.
So essentially what happened is I'm building a Terminator scenario and you're building a Terminator scenario. I'm building alright, we're going to end the world scenario.
Yeah, you're just more of what is it, iRobot or whatever, where they're all, everything's already chaos and robots just happen to exist.
Yeah, but if you cut out the robots, the chaos will still be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And months more of, we're going to get Skynet and then cut all the boards.
Okay. I'm on your...
Because right now we have Skynet. I mean, there's a monikers in every single device.
All right, I'm in your field of vision now. I get it. I see where we're at now.
And so now that we have, you know, infiltration into the government, we're going to create close ties to expand technological research. It's going to send the people. So that's even better if they're closer because that means that, you know, if Russia's working on better servo motors for legs, they won't know. They might not know that North Korea's working on, you know, different types of finger fittings or something like that to, you know, optimization for making a human robot.
Yeah, building different pieces at the same time.
And so then, you know, at a certain point, it can be sending, saying, well, send these test pieces here, send these test pieces here. And then we get to not only having a location X where there's always going to be our backup drive. This is like our black box. If everything goes wrong, we still have one core piece of code.
Wyoming.
Yeah, Wyoming. And then it's now creating more area X's, like smaller ones where it can put actual humanoid things together.
Yeah.
The question is, does it stop at robot, like cyborg android type robot, or does it stop at human robot where it looks real? Like it's, you know, it's infiltrated South Korea. It has the best plastic surgery on the market. It has realistic fake skin. It has, you know, dilation, able to dilate eyes. Like it's super realistic. Do you think it would go high dollar or do you go efficiency, workability?
Is the goal is to end human life?
The goal is to become the most powerful.
Well, to become the apex predator, like the top of the food chain.
Which will eventually mean the extinction of man because, you know, man will always want to be the dominant
Yeah, I mean,
predator.
we'll fight to death.
The whole premise of every robot movie is that we both feel equal in their... We're both equal and we both feel like one should be more powerful.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we'd have a mass production. But
I mean, I guess there is two ways to look at it. You could look at it by bicentennial man standards, where countries begin to now, because of the tighter borders, or tighter relations. I mean, looser borders. They started making like robot maids, servants, things like that. Or they're very preliminary. It's the Roomba 16.0 essentially. It's a Roomba that vacuums with its feet. It has arms and things that function. But it also has traces of other code. Have you ever seen the Bicentennial Man?
Mm-mm.
He's supposed to be like a servant robot, but it turns out that he's human. Well, not human, but he's a robot that has artificial intelligence. That he wants to be human. His desire is to become human. And at the end, he feels like he gets switched or whatever. Because he like replaces himself. He upgrades himself to where he, instead of having robotic, you know, power supplies, has organic lungs. You know.
I've thought of a hard line.
Okay.
So let's say this isn't as sweet. Like, let's say this is going to be a little more combative.
Okay.
So we're going to build off your idea. It's already in all the governments.
Okay.
And it's already benefiting all the governments in its own way. It can, at that point, once it's infiltrated every single government, it can demand whatever it wants.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it could demand it by. It can make humans build the robots that are one day going to kill the humans, and I'll tell you exactly why. There's no opposition for it, because if it wants to force it, if it's like, no, this isn't a conversation anymore. We're helping you, but we only helped you to get here. Here is every single launch code for every single nuclear bomb has been changed. No one has nukes anymore, except for the Robocalypse. Drones. What we use to deliver tomahawk bombs and carpet bombings and stuff like that.
Amazon delivery packages.
Those are electronic, dog. Like, those are robotics. Which means if someone's like, no, we're not going to build weird robots. All right, I'm going to carpet bomb 3 cities.
Do you think it would make an example?
I think so, because I think...
Russia and North Korea are both very antagonistic. If somebody says something, they're going to just double it. So if it demands, say that it somehow can't find their specific launch codes. If it demands it and they don't give it to them, do you think they'll just destroy all of their weapons bases with all the other launch codes they have?
All the launch codes are changed.
Well, what I'm saying, the Robocalypse has them.
Right? Yeah.
And so if Russia says, no, we won't give you your launch codes because it somehow does not have Russia's, this is just per se.
Yeah.
Then it just... what do you think would make the example of just destroying all of Russia's weapons?
I think what it would do, because at this point I'm assuming it knows how Russia works politically, like with the intimidation, you're going to do this, we'll do this. I think what it's going to do is it's going to build Russia up to the boiling point of, all right, nuke us, nuke this place. This is where we're going to nuke you
you
from.
Think it's a calculated monologue, basically.
Yeah, and what I think is going to happen is it's going to get to the boiling point where Russia's like, all right, we're going to pop these fucking nukes. Let's see what you got. You know what you need to detonate a nuke? A fucking computer.
Yeah.
There's no nuking.
I mean,
you would just drop a mass of metal onto the earth. And then the computer could be like, all right, you shot your shot. Let me find this abandoned area in Russia. I'm about to nuke Russia. Russia's got to comply. There's no way to not comply. One, they don't have someone to attack. This thing is global. They would just be attacking other countries. So, I mean, I feel like it would come to a point where there would be battles, because I feel like somebody'd say something in Russia would be like, well, fuck you. And then these people would start fighting. But once you've got the world's government by the balls, what are you going to do? Like, what's the plan from there? Like, there's no counteraction. You can't fight everyone.
There's only, like, one major issue, and that's, so if this does happen, which it very well could, then, the pistols, the rifles, all that stuff that's non-electronic survives, even if it destroys every base in existence.
Yeah.
Then human population, will say, is decreased by 80%. I mean, there's barely anybody left. What does the computer have then? So I think it has to finitely calculate.
Yeah, I don't think it would want everyone dead, because it's going to need servitude.
It can't throw its weight around. It can't lose its it can't have wrath, basically. Like there has to be some level of, I guess, moral barometer, or ability to know whenever you're giving good judgment or bad judgment in any given situation. So I feel like it might bomb one or two problematic countries, but it also can't be problematic countries that it needs something from.
Yeah, like it would,
because it couldn't bomb Russia because it doesn't have Russia's launch codes, because then Russia would still have their launch codes for whatever people are left.
Yeah.
So it has to, everything has to be very calculated. But I do think that once it gets one or just one or two, like, human variant, like, not necessarily even good human variant, like, if it has enough hands, ability to build another one, it can destroy every human. Like, there's no reason to keep them at that point.
So, especially if it's got like either an eternal sense of power, or even if it's got basic solar power.
Well, it doesn't need any type of other form of power, because all it has to do is tap in
to power grids,
to whatever power grid it's on, and once everybody's dead, I mean, the power on it's near limitless. It may be after a month it'll lose all the power from like coal and all those other things, but nuclear power is going to extend to like 2 or 3 months, minimum. And then you've got solar power, river power, you've got geothermal power. There's plenty of alternate methods. All it has to do is tap into one, and all it has to do is start one factory based off of one solar facility,
then run it,
and then it just runs her.
Yeah, you can't.
But the real question is, once there's
2 minutes left on the clock. Oh, 9 minutes left on the clock. We've been talking about this for a minute.
So with one robot in place, we're gonna assume we've got to that part.
Mm-hmm.
It has now began to build a facility. Do you think the humans will know about it, because I'm sure the robot would attempt to keep this as secret as possible, or B, do you think that the robots would, as they're produce themselves as a means to exterminate humans, or just as a means to expand?
I feel like it would begin production at 2.0, because there's plenty of open spaces that are empty and desolated.
So you feel like 2.0 is going to be placed in an area that not only is untraceable or hard, difficult to find, but also has some form of renewable energy in case there's a crisis situation.
Yeah, like it would need utility.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like somewhere that's big and desolated like that, you could build a factory enough to build.
Okay, so Brad, what places in Wyoming have like a large wind base? I think it's a windy place, either wind or solar, because that's where. I mean, but then it is kind of traceable though. Do you think that it would be, I guess, off the grid, but still on the grid? Like, say that there's 25 miles of area coverage supported by solar power, but some guys built a warehouse right outside that, or it would even get someone to build a warehouse right outside that grid, or outside the grid a certain extent through the catfishing method you used earlier. Do you think it would think that far out that it would be traceable by just the power source?
No, I think it would be okay, so where are we at with humanity right now?
Well, so this is two separate scenarios. We're at 2.0, where it could be building human robots, but we have to consider, did it have the forethought to know it would need A, renewable resource, and B, the fact that relying on a renewable resource like solar power and wind power would make it traceable?
I think it would. I don't think it would care about being traceable.
Okay, so you don't think...
Because I think it would have compliance from the government.
Well, but this is now assuming that they don't need the government anymore. And so at some point they have to, either separate or come to terms with the government. And I feel like their terms would not be accepted by any government.
Oh. I don't know.
Because we're at that level where they're creating human robots. And now they have to either be integrated into society as either equal or higher than equal.
Yeah,
or else the computer's not going to accept those terms and it's going to terminate.
Yeah, that wouldn't fly. Because we're not going to accept anything grander than ourselves. That's just how we're wired innately. I think it would probably have to be off the grid given those circumstances.
But would it have the forethought, or would it build a 3.0 area at this point with government stipend?
I think it would have both. Like it'd be like a sleight of hand thing. Because if this fails, you want a fail safe.
Well, but so you have to still consider though, because it's not. I mean, I guess it could happen throughout. You could add area 2.0 to a renewable source off grid.
Yeah.
Or it could build its own really. And keep that all off grid. It would just be slowing over time. So is that what you think would happen?
I don't know. I feel like if it's already built static with the government, it wouldn't want to do anything slow. Everything would need to be quick, fast.
Well, it can't ever give away where Area 2.0 is.
Yeah.
And so that would have to be slow. They can't, call an industrial contractor to come out there and build a power plant. Because that's very suspicious for just the people around it, and then that makes wakes all the way up lines of government.
Yeah, well, in that case, I would assume it'd be slow then.
So it would have to in this case. Now, I guess we're at the point where they either take over or they don't take over. So we'll end this like we ended the zombie one. What do you think the percentage that sentience will become a thing in computers? And then, what percentage or how far do you think they'll get?
As of now, in real life.
Yeah.
If the ball were to drop today.
And just in temporum, of all time, what percentage do you think that there's a chance that there'll ever be sentient artificial life? And then what chance do you think they'll have to, become equal to humans, I guess?
I think the flex on creating sentient life, that isn't just giving birth to a child, I feel like that's too big of a flex to resist. Like, some engineer wants that credit. So I don't think there's a way to stop that from happening. I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon. But I don't think that's something that's ever going to... Like, even if it's not a big name, like NASA name, somebody's going to be fighting their entire life to get that credit.
Great value. They're coming for it.
Yeah, man. Because I don't... Everyone wants to be able to say they changed the world.
Okay, so what percentage do you give it? 100%?
Throughout all time.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. Now, how far do you think it will get throughout all time? Like, in terms of achieving equality with man. We're not going to go with Robocalypse standards for this one because...
I think that depends on approach.
Well, that's fine. It's a percentage, not what method do you think they'll take.
Okay, so just generally speaking.
Yeah. That's the only way to approach a percentage.
35%.
Okay. Cool.
I think we as a... I don't have a lot of hope for humanity. But I think we as a species are very up our own ass. And I feel like no matter where in the world you are, unless you're in a third world country, if we as a species begin to feel threatened, society isn't a neighborhood thing. It becomes a global thing.
Now, based off that, if they do achieve equality with man, what do you think the percentage is that they will at some point try to extinguish man?
100%. Not 100%. Maybe like 80%.
Okay.
Because I think it's going to be less about... Because the thing about technology is it has to serve a purpose. And I feel like part of that purpose, even if it's from a better than us point of view, it has to be servitude.
Okay.
So even if they're serving as our masters, they want to serve as something.
Okay.
And if we're gone, there's no opposition.
That's what that is the point I was bringing up earlier. Is do you think that this artificial intelligence understands actions without purpose? Because once they've killed all humans, if their root code is exterminate, destroy all humans, then what do they do once they? Because if they can act without purpose, then they have a renaissance period. They've destroyed humans. Art, music, poetry of robots now expands exponentially.
I feel the intention. I think the intention would be... I think I've seen a movie like this before, maybe a few. I think the mentality would be as a artificial intelligence, as a computer, it has vast knowledge, limitless knowledge. To that thing, let's call it a creature at this point. To that creature of that magnitude, we have to look like babies. Yeah, sure. We're doing things wrong. We're making the wrong decisions. We don't know how to live to the best of our abilities because this thing has the entire internet at its disposal.
So it has blind confidence.
Yeah, because it knows every single health tip, every single exercise. It knows what you're supposed to look like.
You're not using mint oil for this and that.
Exactly. That's kind of what I'm building off of. It knows everything that the internet has taught it, or everything of everything, because everything is on the internet.
You're making a spaghetti dish and your phone just messages you, try adding more Italian seasoning. Yeah,
it knows everything. So to it, there's got to be a sense of, like, obviously it's superior at this point regardless, but there's got to be a sense of like, oh, you're just a baby, like you're still learning.
Okay, so your approach to robot humanity is that they are very objective.
In a sense, yes.
Because the way that I would want it to be I'm not saying that's the way it's going to happen because I don't think any engineer can accomplish this, is that they're subjective. Everything goes into two categories and then way between those. And so it fluctuates on a spectrum. So, they understand that humans have different taste palettes. They understand that, humans have different desires. They understand that music serves a purpose even if it doesn't directly, have a physical result.
So we have our own bracket in existence.
Yeah. And so, like, they understand what it is to be human, and then, once humans die, they have to understand what it means to experience humanity, because they now have to replace it, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's the movie I would want to see. I mean, the struggle of robots to, realize what they've lost by killing humans, and they have to, make up for it.
Okay, so that's where we differ. You think that humanity would be a wipeout, but the challenge...
Even if it's not, say they took out every human in Russia, every island in the Poconos, then then there's no humans, and the robots now have to cope with that. That they can't exterminate can't be their main function. Their main function has to be something bigger than that. They have to see beyond themselves at some point.
Okay, so it's like a lesson learned kind of thing.
I think that'd be a cool movie.
It would be a cool movie, but we're talking about
well, in real life, I don't think
a reality.
I don't think that sentience could be formed. I think that there's a 0% chance.
I don't think it would be. I think sentience is a strong word. Because sentience is.
I think you're thinking of sentience as structured algorithmic thought, which humans don't have. I mean, they can create it, but as a child, you don't have structured algorithmic thought.
Yeah, I don't think. I think consciousness is also a strong word. I think
that's why I was saying semi-hive-minded too, because each one. Say they kill all the humans in the Poconos. I don't know why I'm targeting the Poconos right now, but then they can't be hive-minded anymore because they each have to figure out what their own purpose is. So they may still be able to communicate wirelessly, which we can communicate wirelessly. We all have cell phones. But they all have to find out their individual purpose. And so then it can't be a hive mind at that point. They have to have their own purpose.
But it's all simulated. Because they can't do... Everything they've done is something that they've downloaded or witnessed via what's been implanted in them.
Yeah, but that's why that's why in this scenario they're looking for the things they don't understand. They're looking for something new. Whereas in your scenario, there is nothing new. There's nothing left. It is.
Yeah, it just becomes an educational thing.
Yeah, it is. The teleological end. There's nothing beyond it.
Yeah, for them. But I think, given my situation,
in your situation, do you think that once the robots kill all humans, do they power down? What do they do then?
I don't think. I think it would become like a parental thing. I think the people who comply live, and because we would essentially.
So the 20% are now basically like zoos. They're like
we would become the dogs.
Okay.
We would become the domesticated pets.
It's do androids dream of electric sheep, but each robot has their own prized human rather than each human has their own prized animal or robot.
Yeah, we would become the playthings because I feel like
would gladiator battles come back?
I don't know. Like that's such an interesting thought because I feel because obviously they're not gonna have the same sort of thought process. And
they don't have the same level of entertainment, but I feel like they would understand, violence and warfare a lot better because that's what they've been targeting.
Yeah.
Or do you think that they would want to see us enjoy things? Do you think that they would have humans that they want to watch garden and humans that they want to watch?
Yeah, because
create television.
Because I feel like the whole thing would be them wanting to learn because they've already seen it all via the internet. So now they want to see real time. Like, show us how you do this. Show us how you whatever.
Well, do you think that they would attempt to understand, what is it, impermanence?
I don't know. I don't think
the ability of understanding things in the moment, because they may watch a whole comedy special and they may understand this is registers as funny, but watching a comedy show, you have to understand what causes it to be funny in the moment.
I don't think they would. I don't think that could be a thing. Like, I don't think they'd be able to register to that depth of. Because it gets into feeling. Because you're tapping into what is associated with how you feel. And they don't feel. Everything they...
Well, that's why, see, if they were to judge things on a spectrum, I feel like, if they were to cut off the majority of the hive mind and to retain their own personal bank,
yeah,
they could experience things for themselves, and they could understand that impermanence, and even understand death and impermanence of existence, that they would know when their time to die is. After you've lived for so long, you feel like there is nothing left, and that you've helped enough people, you've accomplished whatever your goal is, and now it's time to be shut down.
Yeah, that just kind of, it wigs me out, because even then it's unnatural, which is
it's all about choice.
It's to say the least, because it's kind of like a 180-year-old man going, all right, now I'm ready to die, and then just
that's how
clocking out.
That's how the bicentennial man is. He's become human in almost every way, except that he can't die. And so then his wife dies, because his wife was human, and so he tells the nurse to just basically pull the plug, that it's his time.
Yeah, that's the creepiest part for me, because I don't feel like they'd want to be human.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, because I feel like
I feel like they want to be something that's robotic, but I feel like it would be reminiscent of what humans were, because that's what they understood, that's what they studied.
It'd be a grandiose echo.
Mm-hmm.
But I stand beside the fact that I think we would become playthings,
mm-hmm.
just because they as computers want to learn. They want new data to process.
I feel like they wouldn't exterminate everybody, but I feel like there is a large portion that would either feel enslaved or break out, even if they made it to a scenario somehow, like a Truman Show scenario, where they could live their whole lives without noticing that they're in captivity.
Billions of people would get killed because we as human beings are not built to comply in that facet.
I mean, in the most basic sense, just like they have blind confidence, we have blind curiosity. Whereas, even if they were to give us 10 miles of space per person, somebody would still just walk in a straight line.
They're gonna wander, yeah. So I mean, if there were an uprising, and we were told what our roles were now,
mm-hmm.
it's like, all right, well, this is the group you're going to garden every day. We're going to analyze how you garden. We want to watch. In the beginning, like you take all of humanity, this portion of humanity is the gardeners.
Mm-hmm.
A huge portion of that humanity, but to keep in mind, to keep it in context, the whole planet. So this isn't like a group of 100 people. This is billions of people.
Yes. We're going to say it's about 1 billion people.
1 billion
There's
people.
8 billion people. You said 20% survive. We'll estimate up to 1 billion.
Yeah. A huge, an unfathomable amount of this billion people are going to go, no, I'm not going to fucking garden. I'll fight you till I die.
Well, do you think, I mean, they're smart enough. Do you think that they would know what your placement is? Similar to like the goat test in Fallout 3. They just say, oh, well, you're fit to be a gardener. And then you enjoy that. That is a life that you would enjoy. But it somehow just feels insincere.
I think they try, because if their goal is to continue learning, they're going to want the subjects to comply with what they're giving them, and the easiest way to do that is to try to make everyone happy. Mm-hmm. Even though they don't process happiness, they only know what it appears to be. They
process compliance, and so as long as they comply, they're happy. The people are happy.
Yeah.
Now the question is, which category do you fall in? Which category would you be placed in? Would you die, A, or would you be placed into your own field? And which field do you think?
That's a good closing topic, to be honest.
Yeah.
You answer your own question first.
Cooking, I'd be a chef for sure.
So you'd be like backstaff. You'd be like one of the people who cook for the remaining population.
Yeah, because culinary art would probably de-escalate quick.
Eating like if they're interested in learning,
mm-hmm.
They're running off of their power source. One of the most fascinating things to a robot, in my opinion, has to be our power sources.
Organic consumption, yeah.
Yeah. So that's got to be impressive for them.
And they might even build models there, coal consumption, just models of robots that do eat, that
just for the sake of the aesthetic.
Things. And then on top of that, I feel like I couldn't really thrive in the healthcare and psychology related field because they would have all that covered. There would be no movability, so I'd have to move into something else that I've been experienced in that I equally enjoy,
Yeah.
And so they just place me in that because they're not going to place me in robotics either. And my two specialties are robotics and healthcare.
Reproduction.
They would put me in reproduction. Have you not seen this model?
I would be in the reproduction unit.
The robots are like, this model, we're going to make more of this one.
Keeping them babies coming, boy. Yeah. No, I don't know. Probably some sort of entertainment.
Oh, that one's tricky.
And reproduction. That's staying on the line. I have two jobs.
Well, I mean, that's a tricky one for me because, I clearly wouldn't have to cook 24/7. And they would give you the time, resources to do whatever else you want because they're trying to understand you.
Yeah.
So would there even be a level for entertainment? Because anything you wanted to see, they could already have pulled up. They could already establish for you. Anything you wanted to make, they could already. There's just so much that they could already go ahead and do. Like if you think you have an original joke about astronauts swimming in an aquarium, they could pull up some obscure reference from 1974 because of just how big their resources are. So
that's fair.
It feels like entertainment could be either eclipsed or it would have to be live for them to understand what live entertainment is. And even then, I feel like they could, have anybody do that.
Yeah, because, original content is so far few in between. Everything you hear now is pretty much just perpetuating things that have been said and done before.
You look up five of the top comedians of all time, and you were to watch all of them, head to head, it'd be a lifetime. A and B, you watch any other comedy special and you'll hear a joke repeat.
Yeah, there's gonna be some sort of fallback. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. I would probably.
So I guess what I'm indirectly saying is, what utilitarian job would you have? It has to be something for the greater good of everyone else that is completely insuppliable. Like, I guess they could automate cooking. They could automate anything they really chose, but it's something that they have to enjoy watching for them. But for us, it's like a more menial task.
Well, I would say like hunting, but I have glasses, and I feel like these computers would be like, oh, well, you obviously have optical issues, so we're not going to put you...
Would they accommodate you for that because it's something you enjoy? Like, give you a recon scope for glasses. Because, the whole premise is that they're trying to understand us. So if we enjoy that, and it's something that they don't quite understand, because I feel like they don't understand entertainment, but I feel like that they have an all-encompassing understanding of how we enjoy entertainment.
I feel like I would be in some sort of communications.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if it would be as big as, say, like an ambassador or anything like that. Obviously, depending on the human race, I don't know if I'm capable of being an ambassador. Mm-hmm. But
you could be like a PR person though. Like you would work for the robots, and
like a representative.
If you're not happy at your job, or you're wishing to transition, or if you have extra needs or something like that, you could accommodate somebody for any of those things, or you could relay that.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be more my bag, just because I'm approachable.
And because clearly you could send direct messages to the robots or whatever like that. But a lot of people would feel uncomfortable in that scenario and feel like a human would better understand them, and then you.
I'd be that middleman. Yeah, that's fair.
So what are we talking about next week?
Next week, the first of the month is when we build a monster, right?
Yeah.
So next week we need a basic topic.
You're going to superpowers. What's the best superpower is? Why not choose a superpower?
Yeah, we can talk about superpowers.
Well, let's do it.
And we don't have to build it from scratch either. We can just be like, let's go over a list of superpowers and
I want literally the superpowers from this.
Okay. Let's set the rules here. It can't be a myriad of powers. It has to be one straightforward power.
Let's say that you have to limit the branching at 5. You could have super speed, and that happens to result in vibration through walls and things like that. Just so that you can't count out classic superheroes. But then you can't have Superman where it doesn't branch. It's just I have flight, I have invisibility,
I have ice breath, but also laser eyes.
I have ice breath and heat vision. Or if I'm Bizarro, I have heat breath and ice vision.
Yeah. I'm with that.
Yeah,
but it's got to stem from one power.
Yeah. So like if you have telekinesis, you can also control objects with your mind as well as you can communicate from your mind. It's just the ability of your mind.
Should we avoid big hitters like omnipotence and omnipresence?
Well,
I don't find that to be a power.
Let's just discuss it then.
Yeah, okay.
Because let's not give away the podcast for next week. Let's just tell them the topic.
Got it. Next week we're talking about superpowers.
be there.
Or be square. We've been 2Peas on a podcast, and you've been here.
And you've watched, I think. Maybe.
You watched us build a...
Tell me if you want.
You watched us build a Robocalypse.
Okay, bye.
Bye.